We have for you tonight an amazing presentation by masters in their own right. We will have the first hour, Crystal Master Ross Ben with Professor Kareem, and the first time featured guest, a brother named Siddiqui. However, before we begin, as always, honor to your divinity. Take hold of your court, qualify your intention, your prayers. Think globally, my brothers and sisters. Act locally. You are master of the universe through your divinity, through the gift of life in this dense dream reality. So while you embrace your crystal empowerment, the gift from the crystal kingdom, listen close tonight as we approach the high holy planetary new year of spring equinox. Uniqueness about it is tonight we will also be revealing the energy of the 10th planet, Nibiru. So that's what our guest will be sharing with us. But first, I want to bring on our science officer, Lester Loving. Welcome to the show, Lester.
Good evening, everyone. Good evening, Ankh.
Good evening. It is. Good to be alive, brother. So, Lester, where are we on the planetary level, spaceship Earth?
There's a lot of activity going on right now. Obviously, anybody who's paying attention to the so-called political arena understands that what's happening with our interface between ourselves, the planet, and the cosmos is a moment of stillness before we go forward. There are a lot of planetary conjunctions and squares, which I'm not going to go into. When you combine all of them together, and people have heard me say this many, many times before, the seeds are starting to be activated. But we must remember that before we come above the ground, the cotyledon or the taproot has to go down first to establish a secure holding pattern before we come up above the ground. So I'm saying this because after this long winter that we've had, and of course this is one of my favorite days, St. Patrick's Day, in terms of people going out, including myself, and getting yeehaw drunk. One of the reasons that St. Patrick's Day is evokes that type of energy is simply because when you drink all that alcohol, it takes the water out of the blood cells, and that's a way of us dumping out all of those, all of the stuff that we've gathered from the wintertime, and makes us put the new intentions for the springtime, what we want to see coming above the ground. So, this is a long-winded way of saying that we need to be very cautious right now in terms of before we go forward, we have all of our ducks in a row, and that we have all the stuff that we need in order to expand properly. There's a situation with Jupiter where there's a tendency that we want to go and expand, but we must make sure that we have all of the equipment and mapping out of having a plan before we start expanding, because there's a tendency to want to expand, like Donald Trump wanting to expand without having all the ducks in a row.
Wow. Okay.
There's also a tremendous tendency right now for us to look back on the good old days, the ways that we're used to, the old situations, the old jabs, the old cartoons. But we live in the 21st century where we're using all kinds of modern equipment, and we really can't go back into that dream world of how things used to be. What we have to do is take the best of what was and combine that with what is now so we can move forward appropriately.
Okay. Well, thank you for that. Is this a good time, Lester, to have our crystals upon us, or with us?
This is an excellent time for us to have our crystals on us, because we've been for the last 92 days in an arena where we've had longer nights for exposure to the less dense energy of the universe, and now we're coming to a point where there's going to be, in the next couple of days, there's going to be equal light with equal darkness, and then the light will increase. So we really have to, the reason why crystals are really important right now is because we have to program them for right action, to combine what the universe or our universal impulse is telling us to do, what missions we're here to fulfill in this next year, and to go forth with that intention as we move forward.
Okay. So I guess that means we better have our crystals on us.
Well, once again, it's been quite some time now that I've been talking about the sunspots, and this has been a really, really long period of maximum sunspot activity. Now, what that means on a physical level is this is always, every 11 years, this is always a test of our immune system and also our, what I'll call our appetites and desires. And so we really have to make sure that what we're consuming, what we're taking in, the people we associate with are the ones that are really fueling and feeding our proper actions. It's going to be really tempting in the next couple of weeks. This first really, really warm day when everybody's got on their skimpy clothes and everybody's looking real good and, whatever, the tendency is going to be that we want to be attracted to the first good-looking person that we see, or that first big piece of chocolate cake. But we really have to hold off and ask ourselves, is that really aligned with what I'm here to do? Or it may just be simply, let me eat half a piece of that chocolate cake. Do I need to really look at my diet? We've all been indoors a lot this winter. It's been raining a whole lot, and we really need to, get, let off some of that poundage, some of that weight. And it's really, it's with the sunspots, or as you texted us last night, those cosmic rays are coming in, and they're really, really tempting us to go back into what we're used to. And we really have to move. We really have to move forward and upward. That's the whole appeal of all these political things. Is everybody, they're trying to get us to go back to what we're used to. And this is not the time for us to be going back to what we're used to. It's a whole new planet. It's a whole new planetary situation.
Wow. So definitely crystal strap up time and buckle our seatbelts within our hearts, so that our mini minds don't go.
I'll let you go on with the show. But I mean, if you just look at the news, the SeaWorld just announced that they're going to stop the orca reproduction program. They're even thinking about ending the display of the dolphins jumping to those hoops and balancing those balls. Things are really, really starting to change. And I mean, the elephants. They're ending the elephants at the circus. Things are really, really starting to change, and we really have to get behind that and really understand that it's a different world situation.
Wow. Okay, thank you for that. Lester. Okay, first one I'd like to bring on, Lester, we're going to have the lineup tonight is Ross Ben, Professor Kareem, and also a first-timer, a brother named Siddiqui.
Sure.
And I'd like to bring on right now at this time our brother Ross Ben. Ross Ben, welcome to the show.
Peace and love.
Peace and love, brother. Peace and love.
Hello.
Yes, we can hear you.
All right. Yes, hi. What's up? How y'all doing?
Yes, all's good.
Yes, sir.
I like my lapis, man. You're trying to get my lapis from me, Ross Ben. I hope you got some more of that Afghanistan lapis at the event. People are giving me deposits for whatever's left.
Yeah, I guess I still got some, so no worries, Star. I got you. Yeah, so we here on this.
What's happening for this weekend, bro?
Well, we're here with this equinox. So we're going to have a next gathering at the One Ark Healing Community Center, 1439 North 52nd Street in the city of Brotherly Love. It's going to be an all-day event. Doors opening at 1 o'clock. We're going to have a variety of healers, holistic wellness providers, raw, vegan, healing foods, and, different events throughout the day. 1 o'clock, for one, there's going to be a yoga session, and that's a $25 blessing. And then 7 o'clock, we got the brother Sindidi Shabazz, reasoning on Nibiru, because that's a very active topic on YouTube and Blog Talks now, and it's just as much misinformation as insightful information, and we need ones who can decipher that thing and know what's real from the illusion, and so that's what the brother's going to break down for us. So I'm very, very excited about listening to that.
Okay.
And I would just mention, just in terms of this equinox season, what I think is one of the most relevant things to be aware of. Like, we know each astrological sign rules a body part, like Capricorn rules the knees, Aquarius rules the ankles, Pisces rules the feet, But each progression from sign to sign, the movement from the rulership of one body part to the next, it's usually a local movement. Like I was saying, how Capricorn rules the knees. And then if you move energy down a little more, you're at the ankles in Aquarius. And then you move down a little more, you're at feet with Pisces. Well, the vernal equinox, you're going from the 12th sign to the first sign. So there's a big energetic shift where the energy moves from the feet back up to the head. Aries rules the head, So out of all of the monthly progressions of the signs, this one, the energy shift is the most dramatic. So this is definitely a time, like from now up through Saturday, work your feet, soak your feet, Epsom salt soak, massage them, work them out, go stand out on the earth barefoot, work your feet as much as possible between now and Saturday. And then come Sunday, know that energy is now, the focus of energy is now shifted up to your head. So you definitely want to bless your crown. If you got locks, wash your locks thoroughly. If you just got like a regular, well, then do like a spiritual wash of your head. Get like some Florida water, or make your own Florida water with like lemon, lime, and spirit. Wash your hair, wash your crown, massage your scalp, massage your ears, eye exercises, sun gazing, things to energize the head. And that really helps with the shift out of winter into the spring. And it also just kind of helps you enter this next cycle. That is,
what
that
I'm
is
noticing. I'm noticing. I want to share this also with Lester. Both of you, Lester's a Taurus and you're Pisces, and Professor's Pisces. It seems as if as we're getting closer to the spring equinox, it seems as if the crystal orgone energy is getting amplified. Is that a possibility? Brother Ross, take it first, and then I'd like to follow up with Lester.
Well, Pisces, the Pisces season is, Neptune rules Pisces, and Neptune brings out our our senses, makes us, super sensitive and super attuned. Tune is about connecting with other things through vibrational frequency. Neptune is about strengthening your own vibe, your own frequency, and being empath and attuned. So I don't know if the energy is more intense, or is it that we're more attuned and more sensitive to it in this cycle, That would be my question. I think this Pisces season we might just be more open and attuned to subtle energy.
Okay. Got it. Lester, is there a possibility that, coming close to spring equinox, crystals are becoming more activated?
Well, once again, orgone and orgonite energy is always a combination of earthly energy as well as cosmic superimpositional energy, or meaning energy from deep space. And so you've got that combination, like the brother said, we've got that far out on the one side of us that's pulling us in one direction, and then you've got seeding of the cosmic energy coming in along with Aries pulling us back in the other direction. So how I would say it is that it's a time for gathering our intentions and then putting those intentions into motion. So,
wow.
So in other words, if you notice the birds right now, the birds are gathering as much, they're pecking on the ground, they're trying to get the worms. Any sprouts that are coming out from the trees, they're gobbling them up because it's time for them to reproduce and build that nest and get it on for the spring season. So that's the same with us.
Okay, I'd like to bring on Professor Kareem at this time, who is also co-hosting the event happening this weekend at the One Art Center. Is that correct, Professor Kareem?
Yes, the One Art Center. We're going to have a myriad of people bringing in different types of products, body care products, different types of exotic food, and you also have reflexology. Veronica Freeman will be doing reflexology. You'll have Sister Angie handling the food. We'll also have Brother Ankh Rising Sun with his various crystals and orgone devices that he puts together in his Oshun oil, and also the pyramid water that has that angle that is electrical for the cells of the body. On top of that, we also have myself dealing with the aromatherapy, organic incense, as well as different types of Eastern imported attars, which is an exotic form of body oil that's imported. And there'll be some other people there, too, with some new products that they'll be presenting. And, of course, we have Brother Sindidi that's going to be giving us an in-depth explanation of Planet X Nibiru and just helping us to be more prepared with different things that are going to be happening in the coming season, because this is a 9-year. So by it being a 9-year, it means like we're going into another cycle. And this year we also have, as well as the election that will take place, the Olympics is coming around again too. Is that correct? Is this an Olympic year as well?
Absolutely.
I think it is.
Olympics in Brazil this year.
And this was also a leap year as well. So we got a lot of interesting things happening. Since 11/11/11, myself, Ross Ben, Catriel, and some of the other brothers and sisters got together and promoted an event. And since that time, as many times as we could on the equinoxes and the solstices, we've worked towards continuing to have the event. But what I'm noticing now, since we've made the intention to do it every month, it seems to me we have enough energy built up, accelerating, that this will be something that can continue to happen on a monthly basis where people can get informed on the things they need to know and purchase different types of products and devices, energy devices and things like that can enhance the quality of their life. And that's kind of like what's going on with this event happening on Saturday. And I think what will be different this time is we'll have the upper room will be available as well. Is that true, Rosman? Is the upper room going to be available?
The vendors, that's right. The vendors pavilion will be downstairs in the Selah Moon, part of One Art, and the yoga, as well as Brother Sendidi's reasoning, will be upstairs. Yes.
That's kind of like what's happening. Mm-hmm.
Sounds good.
Yeah,
Sounds
we did
good.
gather last month. We had a Healing of the Nations gathering. High frequency, high energy. Just being there was a healing. And as Professor said, it did inspire us to say, you know what? This energy seems like it can sustain a monthly gathering as opposed to a seasonal gathering. So that is our prayer and intention moving forward, that this will be a monthly event.
I haven't felt this kind of energy building up before, because this isn't the first time that we attempted to do something every month. But I see enough energy to sustain it seems, at this point.
I would affirm that.
I see.
And I think a big part of it, too, is speaking to the times we're in, as Brother Lester was opening up. Yeah, man, people need a healing, you know? People need a healing, man. They're hungry for it. They want it. And are actually thankful that, you could go to one place and get an ITAL meal, a massage, some crystals, some aromatherapy, some healing foods, and herbal remedies to take home. Yeah, man, that's what? And have a good time all day with good people doing it. Yeah, man, people are thankful that type of scene is available. So,
and we want our brothers and sisters that are in New York City to have an understanding that Philadelphia is a stone's throw away. It's only anywhere between an hour and 45 to 2 hour drive if there's not any backed up traffic. And you can actually come back to New York the same day, because Brother Ankh, he does it every time. So I would definitely give this invitation and challenge some of our brothers and sisters from New York and northern New Jersey to give us an opportunity to share these positive vibes that we have in Philadelphia with you, because there's been an exchange of energy going on between Philadelphia and New York. It's like a love affair, and we want to keep that energy circulating.
Definitely.
Yes, sir.
And,
I was up in.
I'd like to bring up. Oh, go ahead.
Oh no, I was just affirming that love affair. I was just up in New York just this past Storm Beginning, and was with Sister Cafunia and Nicholas Brooklyn family, and the artist Josh Son August, good Rasta Brethren, who's holding down the Raw Space Gallery up in Harlem. Him and the Blue Pill hosted myself and the next Sister Rhonda Brown, next artist out of L.A. And it was, beautiful building with that New York community. So just affirming that love affair. It'd be nice to have, like you say, different one-on-ones come down to be a part of this. But, Cafunia did do her road trip. She brought a van load down last solstice.
Yes.
She brought a van load of New Yorkers down. So if you're listening, Cafunia, go ahead and get your road trip lined up and get a crew of y'all down here.
Caravan.
Be a nice day. Yes, sir.
Okay, let's bring on Brother Siddiqui so he can give us some more insights on Nibiru.
Brother Sindidi. Sindidi,
Sindidi.
not Siddiqui.
Okay, Sindidi. I got to get used to it. Please be patient with this acoustical, twisted language we call English. Brother, say his name again.
Sindidi.
Introduction.
Yes, Brother Sindidi in 2011 was responsible for giving me copious information on the whole subject of Nibiru. He was the one that made me at first pay attention to Comet Elenin, which was a phenomena of 2011. And since that time, I've become more aware of the celestial bodies and even brought to my attention the whole thing about Google Sky, how on Google Sky you could see different planets and things like that. And he has a lot of information on this subject, and he has a lot to offer to us in the community and some wise advice so we can be prepared for what's to come. Brother Sindidi?
Peace.
Peace.
Peace to the gods.
Peace.
Don't forget the goddesses, brother.
Peace to the gods and the goddesses. How y'all brothers doing?
We're doing very well, brother.
Where should I begin, Professor?
Well, for people that don't know what Planet X Nibiru is, I think you should keep it basic and inform people on what this body is first, and then you can go explain some of the phenomena this planet brings with it as it comes closer to the Earth.
Yes. Well, I like to begin everything in the name of Allah. Bismillah ar-Rahman ar-Rahim. And also the name Sindidi is the name of a chassid from my Sheikh Ahmadu Bamba, from the Muridiya order. And I was given that name by Sheikh Ahmadu Bamba, Sindidi. It means something that you can put everything in, like a compartment, where everything will fit. All various pieces will fit into one compartment. So I just wanted to shed some light on the name Sindidi. To begin with, Planet X.
Hold on, brother. If possible, would you talk slower, because there are a lot of neophytes. You know, this is new for a lot of people, and I know you have rich information. So please speak a little slower so we can digest every word that you share with us, and we're going to listen closely. Thank you.
Yes, sir. To begin with the subject of Planet X, or Nibiru, Wormwood, the Destroyer, the Frightener, Orca, Hercolobus, it goes by many names. It's probably 30 names or 32 names, as much as I've seen in my research. And I've been researching this topic since 1997, 1998. The search for Planet X begins on the astronomical level with Dr. Percival Lowell, who was professor of astronomy at Harvard University in 1906. He also had his own observatory, the Lowell Observatory. What led his inclination to look for a planet beyond Neptune, trans-Neptunian, was that when the calculations were ran for Neptune and Uranus, it seems as if their orbits were off. The planets weren't inclined or following their ellipses as mathematically iterated or calculated. So he began this search for an object that was beyond Neptune and beyond Uranus. And between 1914 and 1916, Percival Lowell at the Lowell Observatory took, I think, maybe 10 to 15 photos of Pluto at that particular time. He didn't discover Pluto, but Pluto was discovered at that observatory by Clyde Tombaugh in 1930. As we go down the wheel of time, they still, after plugging in the mathematical calculations, the astronomers noticed that even Pluto's orbit, after it had been discovered, was off, and that the orbits of Uranus and Neptune still did not match calculation. So, of course, it is inferred that there must be a massive body or massive perturber, a gigantic object, a heavy mass object that is beyond the sight of the scopes that they were using, whether they were using, scopes that were, 3 feet to 4 feet or 5 feet or whatever it may be, or larger, they weren't able to identify this body. Technology did not exist at that point. So as we move further along, we come to 1940. And I'd like to give a special dedication and shout out to Dr. Carlos Munoz Ferrara. He was muy cientifico. He is the man that really gets very little representation and notice when it comes to Planet X, but he was the first astronomer to speak out publicly and go on record and give it a proper motion and identify an elliptical orbit and a mass of this object. To give you some background on Dr. Ferrara real quickly, he was able to, through channeling in Chile, because he lived in Chile, he was Colombian born, but he was able to channel his information after and while he was working on mathematical calculations. There was an entity or an etheric being that he received information from. And from this information, he was able to make predictions in terms of earthquakes, geodynamic predictions. One of the most startling predictions he made was the May 21st to 22nd earthquake that occurred in Chile. It was the highest magnitude earthquake ever recorded in 1960. He actually warned the Chilean government before the earthquake took place, and they didn't do anything at all to evacuate the people. It was about 6,000 people died, 10,000 miles away in the Philippines. You had 108 drowned, 150 missing, 20 people dead from tidal waves, and this is 10,000 miles away. This was a very, very powerful earthquake. There was another great quake in 1965 in La Guaira that he predicted, and in 1985 in Valparaiso, Chile, he predicted another major quake. Dr. Munoz Ferrara is the founder of geoscience, and what that means is that he documented, predicted numerous earthquakes, geothermal explosions, and other activity. He showed the relationship between celestial mechanics and celestial bodies and their relationship with the effect on Earth and the inner planets in our solar system. Dr. Ferrara plotted the orbits of comets. He gave them trajectories, mass, brightness, or magnitude. He gave sidereal coordinates. And I also like to add to his credibility, the Royal Astronomical Society, which is, very noble when it comes to, I believe it's the oldest astronomical society in the world. They reshaped this policy around Dr. Ferrara. Before Dr. Ferrara, if you looked through a reflector or a scope and you saw a comet and you were the first to record that comet, then the Royal Astronomical Society named the comet after you. Dr. Ferrara came along and he changed that. Now the policy is you must calculate and give it a sidereal coordinate and an ellipse. And this is what he did on February 12, 1996. He predicted ahead that Halley's Comet, which only comes around I believe it's every 76 years, would be ahead by 36 hours in its orbit, and it was. It spent more time near the sun at 85 kilometers. So Dr. Ferrara is extremely credible when we talk about Planet X or the Nibiru system. And then in 1999, for the first time on a television program airing out of Puerto Rico, he spoke about what he called Hercolibus. And what he said was that the name Hercolibus was the ancient Atlantean name for this object known as Nibiru or Planet X. And that what had happened in Atlantis was destroyed as there was a polar axis shift that took place in Atlantis. And it led to the sinking of that, marvelous ancient culture and civilization. Dr. Ferrara went on record and he said that this object does not follow the normal laws of celestial mechanics. He said that this object moved at 92 kilometers a second around a black sun or a dark sun that was approximately 50 billion or 60 billion miles from our sun. He said that it moved at another speed of 76 kilometers a second as it reached perihelion. Perihelion is its closest approach to the sun. He said it moved at 300 kilometers a second as it keeps its speed as it makes its long elliptical orbit back out in the direction of Orion. The orbit of this object is something that, has been under the word I'm looking for is there's been a debate as to how long it takes for this object, which really is a system. Now I would like to clarify that what we know as Planet X or Nibiru really is just the outermost orbital of a system which consists at the core of a brown dwarf star. And there are at least 4 to 7 moons and planetoid objects that orbit around this brown dwarf star, which could be a Y-class or a Z-class brown dwarf star. You have probably 13 to 15 different types of brown dwarf stars. A brown dwarf star is a low-mass star which did not go through the nuclear fusion process, and it did not ignite. It's sort of similar to you being at a backyard cookout. You throw the charcoal on the grill. As you get ready to light the charcoal, some charcoal lights, some don't. The charcoal that does not light would be akin to this star, which would be about, in its lowest form, maybe from 4 to 13 Jupiter mass. Some may have a higher mass. Now, keep in mind that the mass of Jupiter is 313 Earths. The mass of the sun is approximately 332,000 Earths. So we're talking about an object at the center or of a mini solar system. It is not one object, so we have to understand that we have a mini solar system which has perturbed our system because it's now conflicting with our system. It is in a binary orbit with our system around its parent star, which is our Sol. Our Sol, or sun, is 93 million miles, 1 astronomical unit away from our sun, or 149 million kilometers. And so this object, some say, is on a 3,657 or 3,658 year elliptical orbit that it takes it to make its pass around our sun. Now, one thing I want to make really clear here is that the brown dwarf or red dwarf star will not come close to our sun in astronomical terms. As a matter of fact, right now, the latest observations that I have, I'm plugged into a team and a working network of people around the world who, are doing this research independently and through a system of symbiotic work relationships and craftsmanship. But there's a team of amateur astronomers out of Chile, in South America, the Skyview team. And they do great work. They have access to, 2 telescopes, at least one telescope that's, 8.1 meters. They have access to the Gemini Observatory on Mauna Kea in Hawaii. And they have the latest information that comes out is that this brown dwarf or red dwarf star, which is at the core or the center of this mini solar system, is approximately 65 AU. 65 AU. So 1 AU, or astronomical unit, is approximately 93 million miles away. So if you do the math, this object is roughly 6 billion, a little more than 6 billion miles away from our Sol. Because the nature of a binary system, and by the way, 80% or more, almost 85% of solar systems that NASA and JPL have categorized are binary or at least trinary. And I firmly believe that we may even be in a trinary star system. But at least we know we are in a binary star system, those of us who are in the know. This star, and I've seen images of this object, is out in the constellation Aquarius right now, going to make its way from C Aquarius 89, just being a little pedantic as to exactly where it's at. And it will be moving from Aquarius into the constellation of Pisces. The problem that we will encounter, besides the mass of it as a brown dwarf star, which is probably 130,000 to 150,000 Earth mass, is the orbitals. The orbitals that orbit around the brown dwarf star, Nibiru included, Nibiru coming from the Sumerian tablet translation that Zecharia Sitchin made in the late 60s, early 70s. And if you haven't plugged into Zecharia Sitchin's work, The 12th Planet, also Stairway to Heaven, Nibiru means the planet of the crossing. And that object is among many orbitals and objects that are being photographed all around the world today. I have people sending me pictures from Germany, from Phoenix or Mesa, Arizona, people sending information from Ohio, people sending information from Utah, Montana, all around the world. So early in the morning before sunset, before the sun is actually up in the east, if you look to the west, I have the pictures coming out of Mesa, Arizona that I'm going to show, and you see a planetoid object which appears to be, a massive planetary body that shows itself glowing there in the morning and also at night repeatedly. This individual I'm connected with has taken over 50,000 photographs of this object as it rises early in the morning and then at night as it comes up after the sun has gone down. So in the opposite directions, you have a sunrise and a sunset. So this is something, this phenomenon is being caught all around the world, from northern hemisphere, southern hemisphere. It began in the southern hemisphere because the southern hemisphere is where this object and system is emanating from. It is coming from below the ecliptic plane. And the ecliptic plane is the plane that within our solar system where our sun is right below where our sun rests and the planets. And so from below the ecliptic plane, this system is moving in. The government of the United States of America and the Department of Defense, National Security Council, others decided to put a telescope down in Antarctica. And it's a radio telescope down there in one of the most barren places on the planet Earth, if not the most barren place on the planet Earth, is Antarctica. And they have the Amundsen Station down there in the Antarctica. And it's important because that is the southernmost view there for them to set this telescope up. And from what I understand, this observatory, which is private, is conducting their research there, and it costs $92 million of our tax dollars. And the American people don't know why $92 million of their tax dollars went to build this scope. And one of the main reasons is this mini solar system approaches our system closer, the weather is going to become more erratic. The weather is going to become more unpredictable. And as we speak now, the jet stream has broken up into two different pieces. The North Atlantic conveyor belt, or the North Atlantic current, is being pushed further south now. And so this is one of the reasons why we are receiving warmer winters in the Northeast. In New York, we had the snowstorm in January, toward the middle of January, late January, and really haven't had much snow all year. It was just 75 degrees, I believe it was 2 days ago. The weather has become very erratic. During Christmas time on the East Coast, right before Christmas, you had a 70-degree day.
Okay, so one question.
Yes.
With this information, what are we going to do with this awareness that, okay, we might have an extra planet? How's that going to affect me getting on my bicycle and riding up the street?
Real simple. We know, especially living on the Northeast, but anywhere, you have to dress and prepare for the weather. If you have a vehicle, you must have, all-year tires, things of this nature. But what's happening now, especially along the East Coast, is flooding. Water levels are rising. As a matter of fact, the United States government, in a clandestine meeting, I'm told by Special Forces Agent John Moore, that they had a meeting, United States Navy, that the East Coast of the United States, the West Coast, and in fact all the coasts around the globe are going to be washed away, completely underwater. And this is when they unveiled in 1980, 1979, they unveiled at this meeting the new future map of the United States. So if you live on the coasts right now, on the East Coast, West Coast, or anywhere in the world, if you're listening, you have to prepare to move to higher altitude, higher elevation, because the threat of the glacier melt, where Obama just stated on an interview that the oceans could rise 5 to 6 to 7 feet. And we know if the oceans rise 5 to 6 to 7 feet, that means displacement for those who live along the coast around the world. He also made a statement that in areas where it had been a breadbasket for growing food, they could become barren. So this will affect every man, woman, and child who's alive. If you're working your job and it's, you're living paycheck to paycheck, if the fruit is destroyed and the produce is destroyed because it's blooming out of season because of the Earth axis tilt. Right now our Earth is wobbling back and forth because the magnetic grip of Nibiru or Planet X is affecting our planet now. And especially along the East Coast, I really want to make this clear. When this pole shift eventually happens, and there's a window with this pole shift eventually happening from, I believe, next year, 2017, up to 2023, when this object, which Planet X, it is a really solid iron cored object that is 47,000 or 48,000 miles in circumference. And it is maybe 5 times or 6 times the mass of our planet Earth. Our planet Earth is 24,896 miles in circumference, or 25,000 miles in circumference. But as it comes close to our planet, and it should come about 20 million miles, 25 million miles is one of the outer orbitals of this system. Its pole, its south pole, is going to be attracted to our north pole, like 2 magnets. So this is the law of magnetism.
Sindidi, how is that going to affect us physically or emotionally?
Well, right now, to speak emotionally right now, many people are affected because of the electromagnetic field. This system is electromagnetically charged. It's cosmically charged with energy. Its long elliptical orbit has allowed it to pick up comets, meteorites. It has, 2 million mile trash tail that is bringing objects with it. So it's going to affect the electromagnetic field of every living person because we all have an electromagnetic field. On a socioeconomic level, like I said before, with the erratic weather, many people are being forced from their homes. They're losing their homes. We saw what happened down in South Carolina, what's happening now in Mississippi and parts of Louisiana and Alabama, where the rain is torrential right now, and all over the globe. Okay, so the effect is social, it's economic, it's the food on your plate. Okay, and so, it's not just a thing where this is, we're dealing with an ephemeral subject or celestial objects, but this, again, is really something that is tangible, that every household will, again, feel the effect of this system, this mini solar system coming into our solar system. So, and this is what the government has prepared for with the seed bank, in Sweden, that Bill Gates put billions of dollars into, where they've taken every seed from around the world and tried to preserve that seed. The Vatican has done the same thing with precious manuscripts. Also here in Utah, in the United States, where they, got some precious art and books and things, and they put them in vaults and they sealed them. In short, as our axis is tilting now, we're already going through a pole shift now. The earthquake that took place in 2011 in Chile moved the Earth off its axis just a little. Shortly thereafter in Tampa, Florida, they had to change the runway system, the mathematical numbers for planes taking off. So we've been going through a magnetic pole shift. And it has been a gradual magnetic pole shift now where our poles are moving more rapidly towards Siberia, but eventually we're going to have a physical pole shift. It could be from 28 degrees to a 90-degree pole shift. And when that happens, you're going to have catastrophic hurricanes, hurricane-force winds of 200 to 300 miles an hour, cyclones, more typhoons. You're going to have the red dust that this object brings with it because it is shrouded, this system, in a red iron oxide dust that is deleterious to the human being on this planet. And now you see the reddish sunsets, the reddish and orangish sunsets every now and then, sunrises in the morning all around the world. These photographs are coming in from Brazil all the way to Hawaii, all the way back around the world again to, down there at the South Pole. So, again, with this system here is bringing changes on many different levels. And so the average common person who may not be aware has to prepare themselves for changes on a physical level, economic level, changes with work, education. We will have to adapt as a species. You see, what I'm saying is that this is vital for the survival of the species, of the human race, of the human being. Because what's going to take place within the next, like I said, next 5 to 6 year window is going to be a testing of the person who can be stout-hearted. And this is what the Coburn Bible says. And I'll have a copy of the Coburn Bible with me when I do the lecture on Saturday. It is an ancient text that survived the burning of the Glastonbury Abbey in England, and it refers to the destroyer, an object that the book of Joshua. Yes.
Thank you.
Yes.
You're going to be speaking, Professor Rasbin. Sindidi is going to be, did I say it right this time, Professor? Sindidi? Did I say it right?
Yes, correct.
Okay, so Sindidi and Ras, you're going to be presenting this information and more this Saturday at One Art Center in Brother Ross or Professor, could you give the contact and details how people can reach you?
Go ahead, Ross. Is Ross Ben there?
I have my phone on mute.
Okay.
Yes. One Art Center is at 1439 North 52nd Street, West Philadelphia, PA. Formerly known as Wall Street International. And you can contact myself at 267-353-2002 if you need more information. But the doors open at 1. Yoga from 1 to 3, that's $25 donation. But food, healing services, massage, reflexology, aromatherapy, energy work, crystals, and other wellness products available from 1 until, and then 7 o'clock. Brother's going to you hear what we got lined up. Brother is everything we need to know about this thing, So, yeah.
And there's also a $12 entry
for inspiring his brother Sindidi with this mission, And I'm looking forward to tuning in and absorbing this information,
That's a blessing.
Yes, sir.
Yes.
Is there also a cover charge for listening to Brother Sindidi present?
Yes, there is. A $12 donation for that evening reasoning. And we're going to do a little equinox attunement meditation as well. But I don't know if we have anybody else planning to speak, because we want to give this brother got a lot to share. We want to make sure he has the proper space time to do it. So, we're just going to have a little meditation, get us attuned to this equinox season, and then we giving the brother the mic and the stage. And I think it's going to be multimedia. So, he's going to have graphics, images to share as well.
If it's possible, I think it's very imperative that this is videotaped.
Yeah,
I think that should happen.
We're gonna. I know just who to reach out to. Give thanks. We're gonna make it happen.
If
you met
brother
the brother
Sindidi,
the brother Tim that you met last month. He's a videographer.
Oh, okay. Yeah, I remember the brother.
Yeah. So I'm gonna hit him up right when we sign off.
But also, if it's possible, if you can transfer some of the pictures off your phone onto a USB, Sindidi, that would be very helpful. If that's possible.
If that's possible. If you can have your images on a USB, just in case we can't run it directly from your phone, but we'll do our best to accommodate that.
Okay. Yeah, I'll definitely make that effort to see if we can get one of those.
All right.
Any other questions?
Yeah. That was a impressive presentation. If that's an appetizer for this Saturday, I'm sure you're going to have the people fixated on the information you're about to share. So, thank you.
I believe that this will probably be the most important lecture of their life. The reason why I say that is because of the nature of what we're going to face, again, with the changes, the geodynamic changes on our planet and the weather. The man, woman, and child, the individual must adapt, or you won't survive.
So I did have a question in terms of, because I have seen, like, YouTube footage that looks really like real, man, it really does look like there's two suns in the sky around a sunrise or a sunset. But then I myself will get up and look to the east around sunrise, and I don't see nothing. And then conversely, I'll look west, and I don't see anything. So what's the variable? What are some of the variables that why sometimes people can capture those, capture the phenomena, but other times people can't see it? Because I think that's where the questioning and the doubting and disbelief come in, because it's like, why can't everyone see it on any given sunrise or sunset?
Well, brother, that's a great question, and I have an even better answer. So, well, some of the factors that come into play, of course, are climatic conditions, your longitude and latitude. Some of the photos that I have the longitude and latitude associated with some great clips of Planet X. Also, I want to make it clear that what many people are seeing, they're not seeing the brown dwarf or red dwarf star. It did not go through a nuclear fusion process at its core, and you won't be able to see that with your naked eye. You can only see this object known by the ancients as Nibiru or Imaru, which is the brown dwarf star. It has a muddy reddish color in the infrared. You can't see that with the naked eye. What some people are catching, though, before sunset or after or before sunrise is the orbitals. Some of the orbitals, maybe 4 or 5 different orbitals at any given time, maybe in the 2 o'clock position. Some are seen in the 5 o'clock position. And again, it has to do with the sun's albedo or brightness on that particular day, climatic conditions, atmospheric pressure, latitude, and longitude. So those are some of the factors as to why you can't see this object every time. And again, no one is seeing the brown dwarf at the core of the system with the naked eye. And again, it's about 65 AU out, so it's about a little more than 6 billion miles away. And you're not seeing that without, infrared filter, and you need to know right ascension, declination, and you need to know what area of the sky it is and what area and constellation it is. So those are some of the reasons, brother.
Okay. And the light that we see when we see those objects, is that their own radiance, or is that our sun's light reflecting off of them?
It depends upon, the stage of the sun. I believe that most of the time it's the sun's, you're seeing a refraction of light from the sun, because again, some of these objects are orbiting, 1 billion to 4 billion miles away from its host star, and its host star is very bright. So most of these photographs that you see on YouTube, are flares, internal lens, camera flares, things of that nature. But then you have a small percentage that are actually real. Now, some of the webcams, from like Webcams de Mexico and out of Addicted to Sports in Germany, which, and All Sky Cam, they use an infrared technology. Moonglow does, the parent company that makes like All Sky cameras, and those are public observatory cameras and things of that nature. They use an infrared technology, and so you can see some orbitals at times, and you can see reflections of orbitals, and you can see reflections of the dust, of the red iron oxide dust, which I have photos of that iron dust cloud that you'll see a refraction of. So to answer your question in short, usually what's happening is that these objects are being lost in the albedo of the sun. But as this system gets closer and closer to planet Earth and the inner planets, Mercury and Venus, we'll be able to see them, quite closer. And remember, objects in the rear window appear closer than what they are. So, these objects are huge that are coming in with this system. Massive.
And I do have one more question, too. I heard you say that this thing is known by many names. Would this be the Red Star Kachina and Blue Star Kachina of Hopi prophecy?
Yes, sir. Amongst the Hopi people of the Western Pueblo and the Western states of America, they have the prophecy of the Blue and the Red Kachina. And the Blue Kachina is the forewarner. It is the harbinger of doom that is to come. The Red Kachina is the purifier. The Hopi say that the Red Kachina will be the one that will bring the change on our planet, the geophysical change, beginning with the core of the Earth. As our Earth's core is heating up, and this is causing our magnetic field, because of this system's magnetic field, our magnetic field is collapsing down. So the cosmic radiation, X-ray radiation, microwave radiation is striking the core of the Earth. Those particles are charged. Those are cosmically charged particles, and it's striking our Earth. And as that's happening, it's causing our Earth to heat up inside. And so from the inside out, this is why you see more volcanic movement, plate tectonic movement, the rise of earthquakes, cyclones, tsunamis, typhoons, things of this nature, storms in places where you didn't see storms. They just had a major storm in Dubai, in the United Arab Emirates, a few days ago, and it made its way viral around the internet, where you saw, at least like 4 feet of rain, drop down within a few hours, windows being smashed out with, cyclone force winds and people screaming. You can hear this. So we're talking an arid area. But see, this is what this system is bringing. It's bringing erratic weather that is unusual, that they cannot predict anymore. They can't throw money at this. You can't throw troops at this. The United States can't say, I'm going to deploy the 6th and the 7th Fleet against this. This is something as a system that is moving toward us that is the purifier. So as we saw a few comets come in that had the blue appearance, as they came in, some say Comet Holmes may have been, the harbinger for this system, because we know this system with its magnetic influence is pulling Creutz's comets in. A whole series of these comets that have been responsible for ending civilization, dinosaurs, or the reptiles. Because of this magnetic influence, it's disturbing objects in the Oort cloud and the Kuiper belt. Okay, and so these comets and meteorites are going to be moving toward us as an influx. So we're going to look at, bombardments from centaurs, bolides, fireballs, comets. They're all coming this direction because this object is pulling them this direction with its magnetic force. So these are some of the things that we're looking at. But yes, the red and the blue Kachina of Hopi prophecy, the Aztecs speak of this, the ancient Mayans, the ancient Hindus, whose ancient astronomy and Vedic astrology take us back to the wheel of time. We also have, of course, the ancient Kemetic system. In the ancient Kemetic system, the goddess Sekhmet is holding above her head the red sphere. And that red sphere that she's holding above her head represents this system that is moving in. And so you see the system amongst the Breitling logo with the wings on the side, the Chrysler logo, the 7-Up logo, where you see the red sphere, and then the 7 up is the 7 orbitals that are going to be orbiting around this object. So you see this representation that the elite or the 10% put in the media, but the 85% or those who are blind, deaf, and dumb and unaware don't know the ancient historical, archaeological, anthropological, geological, and linguistic background that it takes to deal with this subject.
I'm excited, brother. I'm excited. Yeah, man.
So am I.
Thank you for bringing this awareness, because man, I've had so many questions on it. Watching this thing, it's like, is it real? Is it not? Man,
it's real, brother. I would like to close with this. I would like to read just a paragraph from Immanuel Velikovsky, who is another scholar that I, value highly. He was a contemporary of Einstein. He used to play chess with Albert Einstein. Immanuel Velikovsky taught at Princeton University, PhD. He dealt with geophysics, geodynamics, and astronomy. He wrote a few books, but the two most famous are Earth in Upheaval and Worlds in Collision. Worlds in Collision preceded Earth in Upheaval. Earth in Upheaval is the vivid documentation of cataclysmic evolution by Immanuel Velikovsky on page 4. This book is a great book to peruse, but on page 4, we come down, he says, in quote, in 1797, the body of a mammoth with flesh, skin, and hair was found in northeastern Siberia, and since then bodies of other mammoths have been unearthed from the frozen ground in various parts of that region. The flesh had the appearance of freshly frozen beef. It was edible, and wolves and sled dogs fed on it without harm. The ground must have been frozen ever since the day of their entombment. Had it not been frozen, the bodies of the mammoths would have been putrefied in a single summer, but they remained unspoiled for some thousands of years. End quote. It is therefore absolutely necessary to believe that the bodies were frozen up immediately after the animals died and were never once thawed. I repeat, and were never once thawed until the day of their discovery.
Well, thank you, Brother Sindidi, and thank you, Ross Ben, and thank you, Professor Kareem, for this information as we go through the stargate of the spring equinox. Lester, did you want to have any closing info to share before we bring on our next guest?
No, this is go listen to what the brother has to say.
Yeah, so I guess we better I better put on my extra organite and crystals. Thank you again.
Yes, I.
Yes, brother.
Yeah. And this is actually a very good time to announce and introduce our next guest, who's going to harness the cosmic forces by way of Tantra. And I wish to welcome at this time Master Yao. Welcome to the show.
Yes, my brother. Thank you.
Thank you. Thank you. So it seems to be a interesting time for you to have the second tier of tantric harnessing. Could you share with us what that is all about?
We've been working for quite a few years to bring this technology, to people with some success. And what it's about is taking the sexual energy that people have and redirecting it so that it has a healing effect, so that it has a uplifting in terms of an enlightenment effect, and causing people to be more receptive to new information, true information. And it has a bliss. It takes people into a state of bliss when it's taken to its far level, so that people can heal emotionally and be in touch with a deeper part of themselves by feeling what we were born to feel, heaven on earth, or the closest thing that we can find to the highest state of experience.
So that would be interesting, being that we're getting electromagnetically and gravitationally affected by Nibiru. Perhaps we can really supercharge with the understanding of harnessing the cosmic energy through the Tantra. Is this a incidental timing, or what do you think?
There's another cycle that we should become aware of, which I wrote about in one of my books, and that is, all nations, all institutions, all religions have a 400-year cycle, if they last that long anyway. And we just completed that cycle this past winter solstice, and that is, approximately 1609 and 1616 is when the cycle started, when African peoples really became a population in this continent, to the extent that they became a permanent colony or a permanent people here. And at the same time, certain things were happening in terms of the movement of Europeans from Europe and other places into this continent, so that we started a new era. And later on, of course, the country was formed in the way that it was formed. But every 50 years, we moved closer towards something. And every 50 years, you'll see that the cycle kind of took on another phase. If you go back and chart it, you will see that 1815, very interesting things happened in this country. In 1865, of course, the Civil War came to an end. Something happened, even more than the Civil War itself. 1915, the time of Garvey and all of these things, and the drought in the South, certain inventions and whatever, we entered a new phase. In 1965, again, we entered a new phase. But we finished that cycle at the end of 2015, which, as the brother talked about previously, certain things seem to move into high gear. So that we started a new 400-year cycle. The 6 months that we're in now is the transition between that old cycle energy and the second phase of that cycle. In other words, 400 years went and finished, and certain things were accomplished, other things failed, and now we've entered into the next 400-year cycle, and things are about to change very rapidly and very significantly. And yes, this is definitely a time, in fact, we're past due, when people need to use their sexual energy differently and need to harness it differently, need to evolve in a different way. And the technology is here in the Grand Trine system to do that. And in fact, we've been graduating some very advanced students who are, in their own right, moving around the country, practicing this, teaching it, and helping people to come out of their despair, their depression, their health issues, and their sexual issues, their relationship issues, and look at the whole thing in a new way. We have to deal with money things. We have to deal with the political landscape. We have to deal with, where people are with their hate and with their love. But we have neglected one of the most powerful weapons that we have, that is our kundalini, our sexual energy, and how it can help us to pull up out of the vibration that many people seem to be stuck in. But indeed, when we look at this technology, you only remain stuck there if you believe you are stuck there, as soon as you have the will to move up and to embrace a new way of being and relating, it opens to you. There is some inertia to keep you back, and to keep all peoples back, and certainly there's a lot of negative energy that's causing life to be difficult right now. But the main thing that's stopping people from really achieving something different is their lack of will to try to do it.
Why do you think there's so much negative connotation to anything in this country related to sex? It's well known that the British, the Germans, well, I don't know about now, but definitely the English, and this was an English colony. What do you think why do you think so many people have such inhibitions in relating to their own natural life force?
One of the routes to power has been the machine. And in order for the machine to transfer that power to people, people have to be less human and more artificial. They have to be more like the machine. The other thing is that, this energy of dividing people has always throughout history been a weapon for people who come into power to remain there. One of the things that they've always done using the armies or using religion is to rob people of what they can do with their sexual power. There was a time, many years ago, many centuries ago, when people didn't have these concerns about sex. And in other words, and if you look at the indigenous cultures, they still don't. But most of the indigenous cultures that existed 300, 400 years ago have ended. They've given way to the machine culture, and this really is an absence of culture that allows information to be changed and corrupted, that allows small groups to remain in control of the masses when they really have lost all their other advantages. Right now, if people woke up and really try to change things for the better, it's easier to do now than it ever was. People can move around better, they can get a hold of information better, and the power structures are weaker than they've ever been. But people aren't seeking to do that. What we used to control with armies, really, the armies became so powerful that they really can't fight the way that they used to because of the nuclear weapons. So people are more educated in this country than they used to be, and it's hard to pull the wool over their eyes that way from miseducation, from a lack of education is what I really mean to say. And so since you can't keep them from reading and stuff, miseducation has taken the place of lack of education. In other words, educating people to become, as in that movie Matrix, to become batteries, to become consumers, to just become clogs in the wheel. But these things really are last-ditch efforts to keep a system in place that really, it's a house of cards now. And it looks like people are more controlled than they've ever been. But it's become more psychological than it used to be physical. In other words, people couldn't move, they didn't know, and they were stuck in poverty and ignorance because there just weren't avenues to get out of it. Today, there are more avenues to escape that than ever there was. And so the media has been brought online to keep people miseducated and to keep them ignorant and to keep them divided. And the religion and stuff has taken to the media. You've got people running around the world preaching these religions. And it's not just Christianity or Islam or Buddhism or whatever. All of the religions have been corrupted. I mean, they started out as means of uplifting people. All of them did. And they served for a couple of hundred years in that capacity. But gradually and inevitably, all of those religions have been corrupted to do the exact opposite thing. The same thing with governments. The Europeans that came to this continent came here to escape that, the aristocracy. They came here to escape oppression. They came here to escape all of the corruption that had taken over Europe after Europe and the religions destroyed the indigenous cultures of Europe. Once the indigenous cultures of Europe were destroyed, there wasn't a whole lot standing in the way. And those people left because they saw that they just couldn't thrive anymore. But no sooner had they started to try a new republic here than, a couple of hundred years after it was founded, it fell as well. It became the same type of civilization that the founders were trying to avoid. And so we have a situation where people in power are holding on for dear life and by any means that they can. In 2008, they took approximately $2 trillion out of the economy. The other thing that they have been doing since Reagan, is they've put the country so deep in debt that it's hard to lower taxes and change the burden that people are under financially to keep the economy from improving. So you have this huge debt, and they took $2 trillion, and they just took it away from people, and they put it in the hands of the banks and the people that already had money, and that money has not come back. They burst the bubble of the whole housing thing, and they did it in such a way that there was nobody to blame, because the people who should have been blamed were the people controlling the government and preventing any type of reconciliation or justice or returning the money back to the people they stole it from. They stole hundreds of billions of dollars. And those people who stole it, they have no intention of giving it back, no matter who is elected, unless the people change it, unless the people force it. We see right now a situation where the cycle has changed, and the energy is shifting into a more positive, progressive energy, no doubt. But right now, people are so downtrodden, so deluded, so caught up in their ego, caught up in basically nonsense, that the hope is that they will remain so mired in this sewer of misinformation and false beliefs and religious dogma that they will continue fighting each other, hating each other, and continue doing, basically disempowering themselves and failing to really stop this thing, when all they have to do is stop all of that and really take a hold of the tools that are here, have always been here, to lift their vibration up and bring about sustainable ecologies, sustainable economies, and sustainable relationships back. When we look at relationships over the last 50 years, and I have charted them and done research, we see that the length of time of relationships from 1940, from the end of World War II, has gradually gotten shorter. There was a time when people, became adults. The average relationship was 6 years, 7 years, 8 years, and longer. People used to stay married for 30 years, easy. Well, I won't say it's easy, but they used to stay married for 30 years. Now people, come along, and their relationships last 2 months, 3 months, 4 months, and end. And so we have seen the community as an institution go away. It no longer exists. There are neighborhoods, there are subdivisions, but no more communities. People don't know each other, don't care to. Families are no more. The majority of the units out here are not cohesive families. Relationships have basically been rendered dysfunctional because people's vibration is so low. And when you have these things where you have lack of communities, lack of relationships, lack of a situation where people really are banding together as groups and tribes and communities and organizations to uplift, the force that was keeping all of this together and keeping people sane, keeping people happy, is gone. To correct that, you've got to really start at the grassroots level with individual people or groups of people who are willing to change things, and you've got to really resurrect the spirit of those people. And this is what Grand Trine does. We take people through something that transforms them. It doesn't educate them. It transforms them. Because the tools that we need to have happy relationships, happy families, happy children, is already hardwired in our DNA. And so to some extent, we have to re-educate people about the belief systems. But for the most part, the process of transforming people into happy beings, progressive beings, productive beings, sustainable beings, is already in their DNA. You just have to wake it up.
That's pretty impressive. You know, I'm just imagining, you know, tapping into that orgasmic energy and how crystals might even amplify the ripple and directing that cosmic energy for individual and planetary heightening. What are some of the testimonies you have gotten from graduates as far as what they have done with these self-realized gifts that they've experienced from your teaching and workshops?
At first, when people get into the Grand Trine system, they do not encounter less resistance. They encounter more, because it's like you were, you know, the wind was pushing behind you because you were going along with the prevailing social current. And so, you know, everything was negative, but the wind was behind your back and it was helping you go in that direction. And when you stop moving in the negative direction and you turn, the wind is blowing against you, and you find that you're having a harder time than you did before because you see things differently. When you stop doing the things that sabotage your relationships, in the beginning, what you find is the members of the opposite sex, you know, basically come against you. They resist you because they're still in that current that's going in the wrong direction. It's like you're on a river that's getting ready to take you to the falls, and you're going to fall over and be destroyed. And the current, you know, you're just kind of in your boat floating along with that current. And then one day you realize, this thing is going to take me over the falls. I need to get out of this current. And so when you turn the boat around and try to paddle back upstream, it's harder to do. So at the first stage is that people find that when they see the light and they think, okay, everything is going to be better now, when they turn their boat around, they find just the opposite. It's harder to do. It's harder to deal with relationships because you are trying to do the right thing, but the people you're trying to relate to are still stuck in the old paradigm. As they get into the tier 2 and they, you know, they start practicing and they continue to practice and they persevere, the inertia that was pushing them in the wrong direction gradually fades and stops, and they find that they can see, they're like, now I understand how to get there. I understand how to change myself. And as they start to change, they start attracting better situations, better people, better relationships, and they find that they're just happier. And so stage 2 is they find themselves happier, but again, they want to remove themselves from the civilization, from their peers, because they're like, okay, I feel better now. I don't feel so dysfunctional. My health is improving. I've learned stuff. But everybody around me is still stuck in this dogma, in this mess. And so you don't want to really mingle with them like you used to. You don't know where to go. You want to have fun, but you don't want to go to the clubs anymore. You want to be in positive situations and do positive things. But you know, you're like, well, where do I go? Who do I see? What do I do? But there's a lot of people, more than people know, who are tired of this old paradigm. There are white people who are sick and tired of the way that, you know, the injustices and things have been done. There are black people who are sick and tired of constantly, you know, struggling to just try to get basic stuff online and maintain it and just have a regular relationship, you know, get rid of that drama. And there are people, you know, of all races, all economic classes, and all walks of life who are saying, you know, look, I'm ready for something better. I'm ready to enjoy my life without all of the nonsense. And they can see that some of the stuff going on that they used to maybe tolerate, that this stuff needs to stop, and I want something better. So once they get into tier 2 and beyond, they want to, you know, deal with like-minded people. And as they meet those people and embrace those people, they find out that the finish line is not as far away as they thought. That, you know, indeed, all of a sudden they understand, okay, the health problems that I was really struggling with, you know, diabetes and high blood pressure and this thing and that thing and all of this stuff that they got all of this medicine for, you know, I don't need to suffer with that. I can change my diet. There's supplement packages. There's protocols. There's alternative methods, which are not new. Just people just don't know about them, which can help you get past that health stuff. They're discovering that psychologically, if I just stay in this system and just go to work and deal with the craziness at work and deal with the craziness in traffic and deal with the craziness in the clubs and the craziness in the music, that they remain that way, but they don't have to. When they turn around and say, okay, that's something different, and they start hanging out with people who are progressive, they realize happiness has not gone out of the world. It's still here. That good music hasn't left the world. It's still here. That good stories and good media hasn't left the world. It's still here. And that people who want to become naturally healthy, that want to experience the bliss of man and woman coming together, that is still here and still available.
What you're speaking of is a primal revolution. And I don't know if Professor Kareem is still on the line, but in tapping into the understanding of Tantra, why is it, Master Yao, that Tantra is considered the top of the yoga system? Why is Tantra, held in such esteem outside of this country?
Because ever since people have known about it for thousands of years, Tantra is a means to bring you closer to God without religion. Tantra holds men and women equal. It doesn't put women above men, which some people want to do. It doesn't put men above women. It doesn't put women above men. It doesn't put men above women. It considers them equal, and it considers them necessary. In other words, it basically says men can't be happy unless women are happy. It basically says women can't be happy unless men are happy. It basically says you don't need a go-between, a clergy, to help you get closer to God inside of you. It's already there. You just have to wake it up. And so religions have, for centuries, not only, tried to destroy Tantra cultures, they have inserted corrupted scriptures to try to sabotage it. They have killed the people who practice it and teach it in the past. They have done all types of things. They've demonized it, as they do anything that, tends to go against the prevailing religious beliefs. The other thing is that the elite have always kept Tantra for themselves to the extent they could. It's always been very hard even to learn about it or to know even that it existed. And in the history books, it's not there very often. They don't write about it. And so there's this belief by the masses that Tantra is new, or that it's some occult science, or it's some special exotic thing that, 1% of the people know about and practice on some secluded monastery somewhere. Not the case. And so that when we look at this and we say, well, why is Tantra at the head? It's because it uses the most powerful force in nature, Kundalini, the life force, to do what it can do. And this force has the potential to wake up your DNA and to bring your gifts and your power, your melanin, online. With the orgonite technology, you can then block and shield yourself from much of the negative energy out here that has people in such a prison that's basically turned them into zombies. All of this machine and electromagnetic energy out here, it's like a radiation that keeps people. It offers resistance to them moving out of the state of mind that they're in. The orgonite can set up a force field to help you push back on some of that stuff, because you can't just abandon the machines. They're so much a part of life now. You almost have to have a cell phone. You have to have a computer. You have to have electricity in your house. You have to have cars, and they're basic electronic force fields. I mean, there's so much electronics going on. It's become just field on top of field on top of field. But orgonite with all of the things that people know about the healthcare, everything that people know about the Tantra and reflexology, and there's so many things, you can counter these things. And the reason Tantra is so critical is because it is probably the most powerful, life-changing practice that exists. Why? The most powerful force is Genesis, and that is the ability to recreate. And Kundalini is what allows our cells to reproduce. It's what
That's
causes a baby to grow. And when you can take that power and use it not just to power yourself, but to evolve, when you can tap into that energy and redirect it so that people start evolving, they start becoming enlightened, they start becoming happier, their brains start to work better, that is a powerful, powerful thing.
I want to share, and I want to thank you again for coming to Brother Serious Healer's weekend workshop. I could honestly say what the two of you shared, we felt the energy at least for 2 weeks after. And just walking or talking amongst regular folks, it was almost like they had mud on their eyes in trying to comprehend the energy. So I want to again thank you, Master Yao. I want to give a special acknowledgement to Serious Healer for an amazing weekend of the Tantra Grand Trine first level. So I'm looking forward to second level. You know, even if I got to bring the teacher apples, oranges, mixed nuts to sit in on the live stream class. What can we expect? For those who are listening the first time, could you share the best way for them to reach you? Because I'm getting texts and commentaries, and people are intrigued with the information that you're sharing. What's the best way for them to reach you if they want to harness into your classes?
The Grand Trine organization has been, changing and growing for some time now. And this year we're putting a lot of new programs and processes on the map, new websites, and all types of things. So first of all, to answer the question, they should get a pencil and paper because I'm going to give them an email address. I operate off of emails more than anything else. And so the best way to contact me is the Grand Trine, and Trine is spelled T as in Thomas, Ara as in rail, I-N-E, like trine, almost like three. So, or the word Trinity. So it's the Grand Trine at gmail.com. That's the Grand Trine at gmail.com. If they send an email, it takes time for me to answer them. It can take a day or two for me to get to them, but I try to answer them all at least quickly. And so that's the best way to get in touch with me. Now, what happens with Tier 1 is people see the work that the advanced students do, where they're just waving their hands and women start orgasming and men start orgasming and all this kind of stuff like that, and they're like, oh, my God. And so they take Tier 1, and you're not going to become that in 7 weeks. You're going to have some great things happen to you, but you're not going to become a master of Tantra in 7 weeks. So in Tier 1, it basically starts a transformation. You do learn some really crazy good stuff, and you do find that you're like a Padawan. You can do some stuff with your Jedi lightsaber, but you can't do everything that Obi-Wan Kenobi can do. In Tier 2, it's like Grand Trine Tier 1 to the next power. And Tier 2, we release the helms, we release the Kraken on, and you learn some, you've learned how to move energy. You've learned some concepts. You've learned some science. You've learned about the counterfeit personality. But you're really still kind of just learning how to use it. You can do table work, but it's hit or miss. For some, they can get pretty good at it even after Tier 1. Others, they're starting to move the energy, and they're starting to be able to have the ability to set up fields outside of their own field, but they haven't fully learned to control it yet. In Tier 2, we really focus on not so much the initial transformation, but we focus on advanced techniques, the mechanics, on learning the different positions, the specifics of how to move energy, not in a gross overall way, but in specific channels, in specific organs, specific parts of the body to do more specific things. Because we have to then begin to tailor this to where you are. Everybody's not in the same place, sexually, physically, health-wise, mentally. So you need to know how to begin to tailor this to work on specific systems and things and emotions, and to remove blockages and get people to come out of their false belief patterns, their negative relationship patterns. And in Tier 2, we teach 8 uniform tantric skills. And one of the first things that we get into is a series of workshops, or whatever we call activations. And these activations, for the female, it's the activation of the G-spot. For the male, it's the activation of the prostate. And there are other activations. And then there are certain types of exercises where instead of an overall projection, we focus on more powerful things. Like for women, breast projection, which is one of the most powerful forms of projection. For the men, they learn how to pulse energy out of their penile shaft, out of their ligament, so that they can, regardless of what else they do with it, they can really make a connection with the woman and arouse the woman and do things with the woman just from the energy in their penis, nothing else, whether it's penetrating the woman or not. And then we take those basic things and we build on it, and then we show how you can do other things with the energy. And so there are 8 basic, uniform skills that used to be in most of the major tantric systems. And so we start that journey of learning about them and teaching them. And again, you don't completely master them in Tier 2, but you get introduced to the point where you now are like a Jedi Knight. You have this power, and you've learned how to use it to the extent that you can really accomplish some meaningful things. So that at the end of Tier 2, you're certified as an energy healer. And indeed, we've had men heal menstrual cycle issues, eject fibroids. We've had women heal prostate issues and improve erectile issues and things of that nature, and so much more. As we said last time, if a woman learns how to conquer her own diabetes, when she sets up her energy field, it helps the man to conquer his diabetes, even if he hasn't changed anything physically. And like you say, when you go to one of these events, because of the energy in the room, it stays with you for a couple of weeks. But in Tier 2, you learn that the real goal is not to always require all of this work and healing. The real goal is to change your vibration so that you become that thing and it stays with you permanently. Anything that's done on the table, in other words, somebody else gives somebody a power, you can change and do the exercises and follow the new protocols, and you can make that thing permanently yours so that a person can be healed of diabetes. The table work starts the process, but it's temporary. It will wear off. So you feel your symptoms got better and everything got better, and you're like, oh, my God, this is a miracle. But it's not. It's temporary. If you don't change anything yourself, after 2 or 3 weeks, it wears off and you're back where you used to be. But what happens is when the person puts you on the table and works on you and changes that energy for you because they've, conquered that thing, then what it does is it removes the vibration that held you there. And if you change your life, change your eating, change your habits, change the way you look at the opposite sex, and let go of your false belief systems, your counterfeit self, then you're capable of gradually putting into place what it takes for it to become sustainable, and you become that new, improved thing permanently. So that's a rough outline of Tier 2. Of course, in Tier 3, it's out of this world. It's a whole nother ball game because, it's so difficult to describe it. Because in Tier 3, we really, the goal is ESR. And when you achieve expanded sexual response, ESR, your healing power is multiplied tremendously. Your power to generate Kundalini is severely increased. Your power to achieve enlightenment. And when I say enlightenment, I don't mean that, a boat's going to come down from heaven and you're going to be enlightened. What we mean is that you unlock the brain, you unlock the mind, you unlock the glands in such a way that your DNA can start to function more the way it was supposed to, and your cells can copy the way they're supposed to and produce better cells, and it leads to a situation where you can almost like absorb a knowing are a realization of things the way they're supposed to be in your life without having to go through this long, drawn-out process of re-educating yourself. And so the ESR, we strive in Tier 3 to get people to that plateau. And once you achieve that plateau, then, you can have sex as much as you want, and it doesn't deplete your energy because sex raises your energy. And in Tier 1, sex lowers your energy. So in Tier 1, we're telling people, conserve your energy. Don't have sex every day. Always try to keep your energy going up and monitor your energy and, be very, try to build it. In Tier 2, we try to teach you how to get to the place where you don't have to do that so much because you're producing so much more and you're stopping up the leakages and the things that you're misusing your energy. And so in Tier 3, we try to get you to this equilibrium point where you can use energy, but you're replenishing it and restoring it at such a rapid pace that you always maintain this surplus, and therefore you can do things that would normally tire you out, wear you out, and deplete you, but you still are growing and getting stronger. And that is the ESR.
Master Yao, you're making me go down memory lane, where I remember I was invited to a Pentecostal church, and this is years ago. And I'm also thinking of the experience Brother Sirius Healer shared with me. I went to a Pentecostal church. When I was invited to go into the church, and Lester, I hope you're listening, I took a huge crystal with me to this church service. I said, if I'm going to go to this church service, which I really didn't want to go, Master Yao, I'm going to have fun with, let's see what happens. I took a 15-pound single terminated crystal with me to the church service. And they got the spirit that night, Master Yao, Brother Sirius Healer. And I'm just going to share how I think it might, perhaps I'm going to ask you how it all ties in. After the end of the service, they were like, wow, what an amazing night. And what I did, and I shouldn't have done, is said, yeah, and I brought my big crystal here with me. And they actually resented the fact that I brought a huge crystal, and I sat pretty close to the podium, pretty close up to the front of the church. And the service was out of this world. What that connects with what Sirius Healer said to me was that, like when you get Kundalini activated and your inhibitions have peeled away from your emotional traumas that keep you earthbound, you literally set other people afire. So, Master Yao, the question is, have you found people transforming others from taking your course?
Absolutely. It's no secret anymore. I mean, we sort of kept it a secret for a while, but it's not a secret anymore. Some of my students, they don't practice a lot of table work or do a lot of the more incredible type of things that they see us do. They're more quiet in their deportment, but their very presence changes things. It changes people's health. Babies are less uncomfortable. People are more peaceful. Arguments tend to be less. And their very presence uplifts the vibration of the people around them. People, when they learn these techniques, they learn how to charge crystals and clear spaces and do things without implements. In other words, they're using stuff, whatever it was that they were using before they discovered Tantra. If they're doing massage, their massages take on a whole new element and are much more impactful. If they're doing reflexology or acupuncture, not only is the needle doing work when you stick it in the meridian, but your Kundalini is empowering the needle even more to do even more work. And the other thing that we find is that there are many entities out here, angels, elementals, ancestors, some positive, some negative. But if your Kundalini is positive, those positive spirits out here have a greater tendency to use you or to help you so that their energy can come into this realm and do good work. So absolutely, my students are going around, sometimes very quietly. For instance, we have a young man who works in a hospital. The section of the floor that he's operating on, that he's working in, and he's not a doctor, he's just working there. The success has increased. The operations are going better. And people, the nurses, are getting along with each other more. And he asked me, he said, it's the craziest thing. I've just watched this over the weeks, how it has transformed. And he says, everybody likes him now. And they don't know why. But his presence literally is uplifting the vibration of that place. And hospitals got some pretty negative stuff going on. So if you can uplift the vibration there, you can uplift it. I would say hospitals and jails and some of these clubs are some of the most negative environments you can go in. And if you can go in there and uplift the vibration, you've done something. So imagine this person having a crystal in their house and once a day putting their special energy into that crystal. What it's going to do to that house.
Wow.
Imagine if they do a massage and they see the same client every week. After 4 or 5 weeks, those clients are going to report, not only do they feel so much better from the massage, but they're going to just, other things, pains I had just are going away and things are just changing for me. And I'm starting to attract better people. They just seem to be coming out of the woodwork. And so, absolutely, the way that Grand Trine spreads, not everyone who completes the course marches forward uninhibited. Some people, because when you first, get into this work, you encounter more resistance, not less. And so they kind of stop. Sometimes they stay stuck for a few months, in that position before they shake it off and really start to advance. But the majority of them, they become beacons. They attract people to them, and people ask them, people want to know, and, and they become little islands of positive progress that people want to cling to. And sometimes some of them are empaths, and one of the issues is that they attach to other people's negativity too much. And sometimes they have to pull back, regroup, get their energy right, and get back out on the front line again. But still, our numbers are so small. There's millions of zombies out here. These movies are so popular because they're so true. It is so true. The people out here, of course, they may not have blood smeared on their face, but they have become zombies. So many of them, and they are hungry for something positive. And the zombies, they're compelled toward the people who are still hanging in there and who still have some humanity left. We've got vampires out here, and the vampires I'm talking about don't have fangs and don't suck blood. They suck energy, and they are constantly trying to attach themselves to people, be close to people, be associated with people who are progressive, because they feel a void inside. They feel like there's a vacuum inside. They feel like there's nothing worthwhile of virtue in their being, in their life. They just get up, go to work, deal with their life, come back, get on their cell phones and talk and occupy themselves, but they don't really feel fully alive. So they want to suck some of the life off of some of the people who are doing some things. In spite of that, when you get enough people who are progressive, when you get to a critical mass, it will stop being so hard for the people who are carrying this beacon, whose energy is vibrating like that, who's evolving like that, and it will turn. It will get to the point where, it will be much less of a task to deal with this society because you'll have so many other people helping you. We haven't gotten to that critical mass yet, but we can.
You remind me of what just popped in my head. I would love to, and listening audience is unlimited possibilities. Just imagine, like early Sunday morning, you did your energy exercises, you're packed with supercharged, multigasmic, cosmic rays scintillating and radiating from every cell in your body, and them Jehovah's Witnesses come banging on your door, waking you up, and you go to the door. While you was talking, I was just imagine just radiating, smiling, and saying, good morning, and they all have orgasms. Just, send them through a body orgasm. Or if you walk into a place and you literally orgasmically put everybody on fire. These are the possibilities. And after the orgasmic activation, I could definitely see some levitation, psychokinesis, teleportation, it's unlimited possibilities. Or is this just my imagination?
Well, some of what you said has already happened on many occasions. I've gone to the grocery store and women have just stopped shopping and stared at me, and we've had, when we've done certain types of events and private places, the people across the street have had orgasmic episodes. But what you're saying doesn't play out the way you might think. In most cases, when people experience bliss as a consequence of coming close to me, it scares the heck out of them. And they don't want to come closer to you. They get afraid and run away at first because there's not enough media coverage of the positive side of Tantra. It's like, when people first talked about acupuncture 50 years ago, it was a Chinese thing, an Asian thing. It was these crazy people, and we don't want no part of that. Those needles have to hurt. I don't want nobody sticking no needle in me. But, of course, today, after they've learned more and seen more, they're willing to submit to it now, and they find out that the needles don't hurt hardly at all. And after a while, you just feel so much better. And you're like, wow, I was fighting this all this time, and this was one of the solutions for me. And so Tantra is the same way. When we've done some of the retreats back in the, 8, 9, 10, 15 years ago, we had small gatherings, and I would say a lot of people were turned off as much as they were turned on. In other words, when we had situations where 4 or 5 women started orgasming, yes, people were drawn to that as entertainment. They looked at it and they were in awe of it. But the main thing that people reacted, I would say half, maybe not half, but a big chunk of people, what it caused was fear. Because then women started saying, you mean that all of these things that I thought I couldn't do, some man can come around and I just start doing them? They feel like they've lost control and they don't like that. A lot of men feel like, I want to do it the old-fashioned way. I want to figure out how to get my performance up and last for an hour and get my member bigger and become so powerful that I force the women to acknowledge me through my sexual prowess. And they don't want to really invest time in a whole new system because they're like, okay, look, I just figured out how to do this other stuff right. And now you're changing the game on me. And you're coming up with this energy stuff. And they're very resistant out of fear because they're like, I don't know what this is going to do. A lot of people feel like...
I'll get you some bank loans when you need them or car loans when you need them.
Well, you have to look at it. It's really interesting. People will go to church and catch the spirit from the choir, from the singing and everybody getting all riled up. And they don't mind sharing that energy. But if it's orgasmic energy, and if it's sexual energy, if it's progressive energy that's not connected to any type of tomfoolery, they become afraid because it points out something that they don't know about, and it calls into question physics. They're like, how can these people project energy like that? And they immediately start thinking, if nobody taught me that in church, can it possibly be good? And the answer for many of them is, they're in question, they're in doubt, they don't know. They're like, I'm unsure. And when people are unsure, they become afraid. Now, that's not going to remain the case. And every year, the knowledge of Tantra becomes more and more and more. And there'll come a time when you go to the door and you start the Jehovah's Witnesses orgasming, and they'll be like, okay, I need to learn about this. We haven't reached that point yet. If I walk into the room and cause a woman to feel aroused, right now most of them withdraw. They pull back. Instead of them embracing the good feeling, they fight it.
Yeah, because now you're changing. Okay, I've actually had a person tell me, oh, I don't want to go gasmic. I want to save that for my band. And this was a long-distance projection. So what happened was this person ended up getting sick. physically sick, because it was like the congestion, the energy had to go somewhere. So, I guess it was just doing a detox. But you're changing people's belief system where they say, okay, I'm going to get in a relationship so that I can have an unwritten contract with this person to be orgasmic, where you're literally taking an invisible bomb, lighting the fuse with your intention, and blowing everybody up so that you can actually have a gasm party and nobody's having sex. And their little mini minds, they don't know what to do. They get cross-wired. Did you ever have somebody think like that?
Well, I want you to picture an alcoholic. And if somebody says, if you bring a nice bottle of whatever he drinks and you put it on the table, they want that because that's what they've been used to, and they know that it's hurting them to some extent. They know that it's unnatural to some extent, but they want it. And if they can drink the alcohol to excess and do all the things, the uninhibited things that they were doing, they believe that is an acceptable modality. If you tell him, I can give you water that will make you just as intoxicated, and we can, and you prove it, they will still at first resist it, and they'll get sick from the water. So we can take structured water and add things to it and do certain things so that, yes, you drink this water, for a couple of days, and the next thing you know, you're going to get an intoxication. That's a good feeling. But people who are used to other things, colas and whatever, the first thing that happens to them is they get sick. And in their mind, they're like, there's something wrong with this water because I got sick. But they got sick because the water's trying to purge not only the toxins out of their body, but their desire for the toxins. And they don't want to let that go. Look, I love my medicine. I love my drugs. I love my marijuana. I love whatever it is that I'm crutching on. But what they don't know is if they push through the sickness, they will achieve an intoxication that's good for them. Now, I have a drink myself every once in a while. I don't have a problem drinking a little bit. I'm talking about if you're doing it to excess and it's really crippling you. I don't do marijuana too much, but some people like marijuana a lot. And I don't have a problem with that. All I'm saying is that, marijuana has a lot of uses, but you can get that same high without it. But if you tell somebody that, if you even show them how to do it, the first thing they're going to do is resist. And so we have to get past our false beliefs and our resistance to pleasure that's virtuous. They got people running around here thinking that you have an orgasm, you need to be ashamed of yourself. And the only way that I can have an orgasmic pleasure is if I fulfill some type of contract of bondage where I have to endure more pain before I can endure that pleasure and feel good about it. And this is exactly the opposite of the way we are built as humans. We are built to live a life of pleasure, extreme bliss. That's what we're built for. And that's, what they talk about in the beginning in many of these holy books. So that, if you really, really, really get into it, you can make medicine with water using Kundalini.
Master Yao, I just want to share this with the audience. I used to have moments that I would laugh hysterically as a child. And the laughter would be contagious. And people around me would also start laughing. I didn't know it was like, I didn't know about laughing Buddha. I was just like around 9, 10 years old. Until one day, while sitting at the dinner table, this laughing fit came upon me. But in the midst of that laughing fit, I would realize this world was a dream. And this happened when I was around 9 or 10 years old. And it stopped when one time I had this Buddha-like laughing fit, and my dad knocked the shit out of me. And it was almost like he knocked that Buddhic joy out of me because he didn't understand. What you're speaking of is highly contagious, and real revolution is an orgasmic is an orgasmic orgone takeover. But it's not even a takeover, it's homecoming. This sounds to me, tell me if I'm right now, this sounds like original soul food. Have some people ever described this as such?
The people who have the greatest capacity for tantric bliss are the people with the most active melanin. So,
wow,
the people
say that again.
The people who have the greatest capacity for tantric bliss are the people with the most active melanin. Because in order for you to actually feel the bliss, you have to be able to translate it into neurochemicals in the brain that allow the dopamine to transfer and the endomorphs and all of the other adrenaline and all of these things like that to give you that rush and to give you that feeling you get like the first time you eat a little piece of chocolate or you're really, really thirsty from running and you drink that little bit of water, that feeling of satisfaction you get, that rush of sinking that basket that wins the game, that rush that you get. In order for you to feel that in your body, there has to be this neurochemical fire going on. And at the heart of all of that is the pineal gland and the pituitary gland, which control, the serotonin, melatonin, all that kind of stuff like that. And what makes that work the best is active melanin. People who have some of the most deep and profound spiritual experiences use mushrooms. And the DMT of that whole science is nothing else but a mimicking of what your endocrine glands do when they're naturally free and easy. So when you've got that melanin working right, then your brain is capable of producing more intense neurochemicals, and you're able to have more intense highs. Also, the opposite side of that is you can have more intense lows, more intense depression, more intense feelings of disappointment and feelings of hatred and abandonment. But when you are working it correctly, that melanin is such a powerful thing with this whole, when you combine it with this tantric piece. It's just such a powerful piece. It really is, where you say, okay, I had a real bad life. As a man, I was never able to get the job I wanted, the car I wanted, the girl I wanted, and all of these things. My life has just been a string of disappointments. I had to spend a year in jail, and it was hard to get stuff after that. And then you learn that a woman can come along and do this energy work on you and totally erase a lot of that stuff out of your brain neurochemistry so that your appetites change and your sense of pleasure changes and your outlook on life changes. That's power. And these women who have this melanin, and I'm not saying that only women with melanin can do it. I'm saying all women can do it. I'm just saying that some of these real fine-looking sisters out here have a lot of power in that melanin. And some of these brothers, the same brothers that, you see them on the basketball court jumping 10 feet and dunking a ball, and you're like, how in the heck did he get his body up that high? How is the rhythm? How is his eye to, hand coordination that he could do that? And it's the same thing. It's the melanin. And you just discover that we got some powerful, potentially powerful brothers out here who, even without training, are doing some level of projection. So that if they ever get into training and they work with people like myself and the people in Grand Trine, and they really start to get their ego in check, and they really start having the right attitude toward females, we got some super powerful brothers out here if they're ever unlocked.
Master Yao, please, we got another minute. Please leave your contact information with us right now, please.
Okay. I want to announce two things. Number one, we've got a new site, a membership site coming out in about a month that's really going to make it so much easier for people to interact with our program. I want to also announce that we've had more international students in the last 4 months than we've ever had. I want to announce that our Tier 2 class is going to start next week, March 23rd, and anyone who's taken Tier 1, online or otherwise, is eligible to sign up. And so if they need to reach me, the best way is through email, and that is thegrandtrine@gmail.com. That's TheGrand, T as in Tom, R as in rail, I as in India, N as in Nancy, E as in I, or that's not a good one, but E as in eel or whatever. So dgrandtrine@gmail.com. And if they see stuff on Facebook or whatever from one of my students or from Sirius Brother or from any of the people in the Grand Trine organization, click it and check it out. You know, just check it out. Just give it the benefit of the doubt and take a leap. It's no longer a secret, and it's something that can change your life.
I agree. The real revolution, we came here, hopefully most of us, if not all of us, came here through a Stargate conception of orgasmic energy. Hopefully as children we lived orgasmically. Hopefully we can again attain happy-gasms, joy-gasms, love-gasms, sky-gasms, and as we go into the afterlife, may we be multi-gasmic. I see our brother Sirius Healer in the queue. I don't know if he's available. You want to give him a moment to say hello, Master Yao?
I love people. I want to talk to all people. Any questions, anybody in the audience, and certainly Sirius.
Brother Sirius, welcome to the show.
Hey, peace and blessings.
Peace and blessings.
How's everybody doing this evening?
We're working on an orgasmic bomb so that Jehovah's Witnesses can bang on our doors and we blow them away.
Yeah, I'm not even no comment on any of that. How you doing, Master?
Or have the bank loan officer go gasmic for approvals and mortgages and car loans and let's see what else. That's all I can think of at the moment.
Yeah, I have a good rapport in the Jehovah's Witness community, so I'm not trying to mess any of that up. So it's cool. But yeah, I've been listening to the show, and it's been excellent. I caught up like the past hour, and I caught maybe about 15 minutes of the beginning of the show, and I just wanted to say, Brother Hank, keep up the great work, and Master Yao, excellent presentation, along with the other presenters tonight. And I'm looking forward to any work or any classes that are coming up, in regards to myself or Master Yao.
Oh, and please share with those. You have some of our classmates are on the line. Please, for the record, share what you have happening in the near future, Brother Sirius.
Can you repeat that again?
What's cooking as far as workshops in the near future?
Oh, workshops. In May, I'm going to be holding I'm looking at holding a level 1, Grand Trine level 1 class, and we'll be focusing on magnetic energy, dealing with Nate Gump. I'm also going to have some small workshops coming up on intimacy, how to connect, also dating survival tactics. We're also going to get into some advanced projection techniques as well. And I also have a system that I put together dealing with touch, form massage that allows you to connect. I call it the Bracker method. And it actually has an acronym, but I'll get into that at another time. But it's been very effective for me.
Excellent. I want to thank you both for being on the show tonight. We're running out of time. Brother Sirius, what's the best way for people to reach you?
They can go to my website, www.SiriusElevation.com. That'll be SIRIUS elevation.com, or they can email me at contact@SiriusElevation.com. Or on Facebook, you can reach me under Thomas Hargrove or Sirius Healer. Instagram, Sirius Gent. And also on Facebook, I have a page too, which is Sirius Gent. That's actually just a page, not a profile page. So they can reach me in any of those places.
Yes. I want to thank you, Master Yao, for an awesome evening, what we were sharing with the audience, and hopefully it lights the fire of intrigue, interest, and enthusiasm. And I want to thank you again, Sirius Healer, for an amazing workshop that we had. That I don't know if he was on the air, but I was sharing with them. The momentum of that energy lasted at least 2 weeks. I felt it for at least 2 weeks.
Yes.
So life changing. We have for you tonight an amazing presentation by masters in their own right. We will have the first hour, Crystal Master Ross Ben with Professor Kareem, and the first-time featured guest, a brother named Siddiqui. However, before we begin, as always, honor to your divinity. Take hold of your court, amplify your intention, your prayers. Think globally, my brothers and sisters. Act locally. You are master of the universe through your divinity, through the gift of life in this dense dream reality. So while you embrace your crystal empowerment, the gift from the crystal kingdom, listen close tonight as we approach the high holy planetary new year of spring equinox. Uniqueness about it is tonight we will also be revealing the energy of the 10th planet, Nibiru. So that's what our guest will be sharing with us. But first, I want to bring on our science officer, Lester Loving. Welcome to the show, Lester.
Good evening, everyone. Good evening, Ankh.
Good evening. It is. Good to be alive, brother. So, Lester, where are we on the planetary level, spaceship Earth?
There's a lot of activity going on right now. Obviously, anybody who's paying attention to the so-called political arena understands that what's happening with our interface between ourselves, the planet, and the cosmos is a moment of stillness before we go forward. There are a lot of planetary conjunctions and squares, which I'm not going to go into. When you combine all of them together, and people have heard me say this many, many times before, the seeds are starting to be activated. But we must remember that before we come above the ground, the cotyledon or the taproot has to go down first to establish a secure holding pattern before we come up above the ground. So I'm saying this because after this long winter that we've had, and of course this is one of my favorite days, St. Patrick's Day, in terms of people going out, including myself, and getting yeehaw drunk. One of the reasons that St. Patrick's Day is evokes that type of energy is simply because when you drink all that alcohol, it takes the water out of the blood cells, and that's a way of us dumping out all of those, all of the stuff that we've gathered from the wintertime, and makes us put the new intentions for the springtime, what we want to see coming above the ground. So, this is a long-winded way of saying that we need to be very cautious right now in terms of before we go forward, we have all of our ducks in a row, and that we have all the stuff that we need in order to expand properly. There's a situation with Jupiter where there's a tendency that we want to go and expand, but we must make sure that we have all of the equipment and mapping out of having a plan before we start expanding, because there's a tendency to want to expand, like Donald Trump wanting to expand without having all the ducks in a row.
Wow. Okay.
There's also a tremendous tendency right now for us to look back on the good old days, the ways that we're used to, the old situations, the old jabs, the old cartoons. But we live in the 21st century where we're using all kinds of modern equipment, and we really can't go back into that dream world of how things used to be. What we have to do is take the best of what was and combine that with what is now so we can move forward appropriately.
Okay. Well, thank you for that. is this a good time, Lester, to have our crystals upon us or with us?
This is an excellent time for us to have our crystals on us, because we've been for the last 92 days in an arena where we've had longer nights for exposure to the less dense energy of the universe, and now we're coming to a point where there's going to be, in the next couple of days, there's going to be equal light with equal darkness, and then the light will increase. So we really have to, the reason why crystals are really important right now is because we have to program them for right action, to combine what the universe or our universal impulse is telling us to do, what missions we're here to fulfill in this next year, and to go forth with that intention as we move forward.
Okay. So I guess that means we better have our crystals on us.
Well, once again, it's been quite some time now that I've been talking about the sunspots, and this has been a really, really long period of maximum sunspot activity. Now, what that means on a physical level is this is always, every 11 years, this is always a test of our immune system and also our, what I'll call our appetites and desires. And so we really have to make sure that what we're consuming, what we're taking in, the people we associate with are the ones that are really fueling and feeding our proper actions. It's going to be really tempting in the next couple of weeks. This first really, really warm day when everybody's got on their skimpy clothes and everybody's looking real good, and whatever the tendency is going to be, that we want to be attracted to the first good-looking person that we see, or that first big piece of chocolate cake. But we really have to hold off and ask ourselves, is that really aligned with what I'm here to do? Or it may just be simply, let me eat half a piece of that chocolate cake. Do I need to really look at my diet? We've all been indoors a lot this winter. It's been raining a whole lot, and we really need to, get let off some of that poundage, some of that weight, and it's really it's with the sunspots or as you texted us last night, those cosmic rays are coming in, and they're really, really tempting us to go back into what we're used to. And we really have to move. We really have to move forward and upward. That's the whole appeal of all these political things. Is everybody, they're trying to get us to go back to what we're used to. And this is not the time for us to be going back to what we're used to. It's a whole new planet. It's a whole new planetary situation.
Wow. So definitely crystal strap up time and buckle our seatbelts within our hearts, so that our mini minds don't go.
I'll let you go on with the show. But I mean, if you just look at the news, the SeaWorld just announced that they're going to stop the orca reproduction program. They're even thinking about ending the display of the dolphins jumping into those hoops and balancing those balls. Things are really, really starting to change. And I mean, the elephants. They're ending the elephants at the circus. Things are really, really starting to change, and we really have to get behind that and really understand that it's a different world situation.
Wow. Okay, thank you for that. Lester. Okay, first one I'd like to bring on, Lester, we're going to have the lineup tonight is Ross Ben, Professor Kareem, and also a first-timer, a brother named Siddiqui.
Sure.
And I'd like to bring on right now at this time our brother Ross Ben. Ross Ben, welcome to the show.
Peace and love.
Peace and love, brother. Peace and love.
Hello.
Yes, we can hear you.
All right. Yes, hi. What's up? How y'all doing?
Yes, all's good.
Yes, sir.
I like my lapis, man. You're trying to get my lapis from me, Ross Ben. I hope you got some more of that Afghanistan lapis at the event. People are giving me deposits for whatever's left.
Yeah, I guess I still got some, so no worries, Star. I got you. Yeah, so we're here on this equinox.
What's happening for this weekend, bro?
Well, this week we're here with this equinox. So we're going to have a next gathering at the One Arc Healing Community Center 1439 North 52nd Street in the city of brotherly love. It's going to be an all-day event. Doors opening at 1 o'clock. We're going to have a variety of healers, holistic wellness providers, raw, vegan, healing foods, and, different events throughout the day. 1 o'clock, from 1 to going to be a yoga session, and that's a $25 blessing. And then 7 o'clock, we got the brother Sindidi Shabazz reasoning on Nibiru, because that's a very active topic on YouTube and Blog Talks now, and it's just as much misinformation as insightful information, and we need ones who can decipher that thing and know what's real from the illusion, and so that's what the brother's going to break down for us. So I'm very, very excited about listening to that.
Okay.
And I would just mention, just in terms of this equinox season, what I think is one of the most relevant things to be aware of. Like, we know each astrological sign rules a body part, like Capricorn rules the knees, Aquarius rules the ankles, Pisces rules the feet, But each progression from sign to sign, the movement from the rulership of one body part to the next, it's usually a local movement. Like I was saying, how Capricorn rules the knees. And then if you move energy down a little more, you're at the ankles in Aquarius. And then you move down a little more, you're at feet with Pisces. Well, the vernal equinox, you're going from the 12th sign to the first sign. So there's a big energetic shift where the energy moves from the feet back up to the head. Aries rules the head, So out of all of the monthly progressions of the signs, this one, the energy shift is the most dramatic. So this is definitely a time, like from now up through Saturday, work your feet, soak your feet, Epsom salt soak, massage them, work them out, go stand out on the earth barefoot, work your feet as much as possible between now and Saturday. And then come Sunday, know that energy is now, the focus of energy is now shifted up to your head. So you definitely want to bless your crown. If you got locks, wash your locks thoroughly. If you just got like a regular, well, then do like a spiritual wash of your head. Get like some Florida water, or make your own Florida water with like lemon, lime, and spirit. Wash your hair, wash your crown, massage your scalp, massage your ears, eye exercises, sun gazing, things to energize the head. And that really helps with the shift out of winter into the spring. And it also just kind of helps you enter this next cycle. That is,
what
that
I'm
is
noticing. I'm noticing. I want to share this also with Lester. Both of you, Lester's a Taurus and you're Pisces, and Professor's Pisces. It seems as if as we're getting closer to the spring equinox, it seems as if the crystal orgone energy is getting amplified. Is that a possibility? Brother Ross, take it first, and then I'd like to follow up with Lester.
Well, Pisces, the Pisces season is, Neptune rules Pisces, and Neptune brings out our senses, makes us, super sensitive and super attuned. Tune is about connecting with other things through vibrational frequency. Neptune is about strengthening your own vibe, your own frequency, and being empath and attuned. So I don't know if the energy is more intense or is it that we're more attuned and more sensitive to it in this cycle, you know? That would be my question. I think this Pisces season we might just be more open and attuned to subtle energy.
Okay. Got it. Lester, is there a possibility that, you know, coming close to spring equinox, crystals are becoming more activated?
Well, once again, orgone and organite energy is always a combination of earthly energy as well as cosmic superimpositional energy, or meaning energy from deep space. And so you've got that combination, like the brother said, you know, we've got that far out on the one side of us that's pulling us in one direction, and then you've got seeding of the cosmic energy coming in along with Aries pulling us back in the other direction. So how I would say it is that it's a time for gathering our intentions and then putting those intentions into motion. So
wow.
So in other words, if you notice the birds right now, you know, the birds are gathering as much, you know, they're pecking on the ground, they're trying to get the worms. Any sprouts that are coming out from the trees, they're gobbling them up because it's time for them to reproduce and build that nest and get it on for the spring season. So that's the same with us.
Okay, I would like to bring on Professor Kareem at this time, who is also co-hosting the event happening this weekend at the One Art Center. Is that correct, Professor Kareem?
Yes, the One Art Center. We're going to have a myriad of people bringing in different types of products, body care products, different types of exotic food, and you also have reflexology. Veronica Freeman will be doing reflexology. You'll have Sister Angie handling the food. We'll also have Brother Ankh Rising Sun with his various crystals and orgone devices that he puts together in his Oshun oil, and also the pyramid water that has that angle that is electrical for the cells of the body. On top of that, we also have myself dealing with the aromatherapy, organic incense, as well as different types of Eastern imported attars, which is an exotic form of body oil that's imported. And there'll be some other people there, too, with some new products that they'll be presenting. And, of course, we have Brother Sindidi that's going to be giving us an in-depth explanation of Planet X Nibiru and just helping us to be more prepared with different things that are going to be happening in the coming season, because this is a 9-year. So by it being a 9-year, it means like we're going into another cycle. And this year we also have, as well as